right. And there we go. So this is about keywording in Lightroom Classic, which if you don't know the difference, there's Lightroom CC, which is the mobile version, and then the Classic is the desktop PC-based version. This is geared towards the Classic version, although there are similarities to the mobile. So, keywords. Keywords are a powerful tool to help us find images. Like everything in Lightroom, there is always multiple methods to do things. I try to catch all of them. In my examples, sometimes I do miss one or two. So if you're new to Lightroom or new to using keywords in Lightroom, really the first step, and in some respects, at least for myself, one of the hardest things is, what do you choose for keywords? What is there rules? Are there things? Are there certain words? And, you know, it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of a thing. Good news is there are no rules. The bad news is there are no rules. So you can choose any words you wish. And there are multiple ways to create the keywords and apply them and start with them. One of the things you can do is just start doing it. You can just look at an image and decide, this is the keyword I want to use for it. And then you type it in, and I'll show you where to do it in the keyword panel. You type it in and you say, I want you to assign this to these images. You can also create the keyword in the panel called Keyword List. Doing it here does not assign it to images. Doing it that way does not assign it to images, it just creates it. And then the last thing you can do is you can actually create your keywords on a text file using just a Word-like program, and then you import them. That's especially useful if you haven't done a lot of keywords and you're having a very specific type of set of words you want. I once did some work in Lightroom for a photographer who was a very extensive bird photographer. She literally had like 80,000 pictures of birds in her catalog, and she had assigned a very detailed setting of keywords: waterfowl, ducks, and then the name of the duck. So she would have been able to create these in a Word document and import them in, which is a little more efficient if you're doing a lot of them than doing them in Lightroom. So as I said, no rules. They have to make sense to you. I mean, that's the first thing to think of. If the keywords don't mean anything to you on what they're leading you to, they really don't make use, or they're not useful. My kind of feeling is to use the KISS method. Keep it stupidly simple. Now, some things to think about. Consistency makes this much easier. Capitalization. You think you'll find this be a little bit easier if you don't capitalize everything except names or places. Try to keep your things like quantities. Either use a singular or use a plural. Don't mix them. Bird, cat, dog, as opposed to birds, cats, or dogs. Pick one and stick with it. Now you'll see we can also create synonyms. So you could have puppy, but just in case, you could also use the word puppies. And by putting it in the synonym field, it would show up both of them Verbs. Try to stick to the single form. Run, jump, play, if you're going to have verbs for things like this. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you are ever interested, or if you're looking to or have gotten into stock photography as work, they require very extensive keywording, and most stock photography agencies have very specific keywords that can be used in order for their service to accept your images. And a lot of that gets into this with singular and single form and things like this. Names. Think about either using a name or a nickname or just last name. Again, it all depends on how extensive you want to make this. So where do we assign these keywords? Well, let me open up the rest of my Lightroom here. The panels are in the library module. And so we have two basic panels to involve our keywording. We have the keywording panel and we have the keyword list. So let's start with the keywording panel. This is where I can add or edit keywords that are assigned to images. And it can be a batch or a singular. So let me grab... Yeah, I'll go back to drones. Okay, so here if I have 18 pictures that I have grouped together. Now, if I select one image, I'm going to take this first one right here. You'll notice that my keyword tags box here is empty. That means that this image does not have any keywords assigned to it. So I can, if I want to assign the keyword to this one, and one I might want to assign is the keyword Belle Isle. What is going on with my screen? Stop sharing for a minute. All right. What are we got going on here? Pardon me while what's going on with my Lightroom? Well, that was interesting. Okay, apologize for that. I do not know what was going on there. So here I have my first image, and you'll notice here under keyword tags, I have no keywords. So I can click right here. It does not want to let me put a keyword in. There we go. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to add another keyword to this second one. So I'm going to add the keyword Belle Isle. And the way I do that is I just use a comma as a keyword separator and then type it. So now this second image has the keyword Belle Isle attached to it. Now, if I select the second one and the first one, you'll notice here that the three keywords that showed up, Belle Isle, drone, and teach, all have an asterisk next to it. What that asterisk means is that out of the images that are selected, which in this case are these two, these keywords with the asterisks, in this case all three, are on some of the images, but not all of them. And if I add some more here from Belle Isle, and I want to apply these three keywords to all of those images at once, say the Belle Isle keyword, all I do is I position my mouse just to the next of the asterisks, and I backspace to remove the asterisks. And then as soon as I hit enter, the keyword Belle Isle is now assigned to all of the images. Had no keywords attached. So that's the first way I can apply keywords to images. And I can select using the control. Here I'll pick flowers, and I can come up here and type in sunflower and hit enter. So these three images have the keyword sunflower to them. So now that's one way to assign keywords. Now, let's say, well, let me take this one, and I'm going to erase the word Belle Isle from this keyword. And that's how you remove a keyword. Just clicking on it here and backspacing it out or deleting it removes it from it. Now, right down here, the next panel down, you'll see it says Keyword Select Suggestions. And I have 9 different keywords that are in here. This is fairly intelligent as you start to use it. It starts to notice similarities between images, and it fills that. So here I have my third image that I removed the Belle Isle key from. And I want to apply it, and it's in my suggestion. I just click, and it applies it. And maybe I'm going to call that a landscape also. So right here, I have a keyword landscapes. And I'm going to click on that, and it'll assign it. Now this image has the keyword Belle Isle, drone, landscapes, and teach. So that's another way at using the keyword suggestions that it will start to develop some intelligence. Now, to show you how this kind of modifies itself, here I have, over here, I clicked on a collection that I call family. And if you notice in my keyword selections, they switched to keywords that are in that collection already or similar. So I'm going to take this picture here, Dylan. And the other thing to notice, if you use them, these little tiny tags down here. This one that kind of looks like a price tag tells me that this image has keywords attached to it. So when I look at this one here of Dylan, there is no keyword attached to it. But I can come right down here and assign the keyword Dylan to it. Okay. So you see now assign the keyword Dylan to this one. And actually where I pulled it from is the next panel down called the keyword set. These are sets that you can create. They come with outdoor photography, portrait, wedding. Or I can create my own. Now, I have one here called custom. And I'm going to actually give it a new name in a minute. And if you notice, it's actually my family. Melissa, Christopher, and Ashley are my 3 children. These other 6 are my grandchildren underneath. And you'll notice that there's only room for 9. And I'm going to show you why in a second. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call it family. And change it. Now, the reason there are only 9 is if I press down the Alt key, you'll notice here on the keyword set, I pick up numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And those correspond to, I hold down the Alt key, and here, let's pick up Olivia. So Olivia is number 4. And images, and go Alt 4 and assign that to all of those very quickly. So the reason that there are only 9 in the keyword set is because you have 9 keys. So that's very defined that way. It's very specifically created to have that. Now, so this is how, when we have images, we can apply these keywords to them. And it becomes fairly efficient. Now, the other thing we can do up here where it says keyword tags, I can have something that says keywords and containing keywords, which I'll explain to you in a minute, and we'll export. When we export images, we have the ability on the export screen under metadata to send those keywords with the image. This becomes useful is it embeds it in the metadata. So again, if you're going to get into something like stock photography, they require keywords to be embedded in there. Now, the next way to begin to assign images with a keyword is using the keyword list. And if I click on that and open that, it's going to show me all the keywords that are currently being used in my catalog. And as you can see, I've got quite a bit, but I also have quite a bit of, well, what I'll call junk. Here I have landscape and landscapes. And then I have another one, landscapes, waterfall, wildflowers, Smoky Mountains. And the problem with that has to do with delimiters. And I'm going to come back to that one in a second. This is something that I've been working on from time to time to clean up. I've been cleaning up my keyword list, getting rid of like landscape and landscapes by combining them and assigning it to the same. Now you'll notice here, most of my list is just in a single row till I get here to family. And you'll see I have those magic little arrows that we see throughout Lightroom. And if I even come over here to my collections, you'll see I have this. This is a hierarchy that I can create. So I actually have 2 ways to create my list. And I can combine it as I have done. Have what they call a flat list, where it is just one word after another. Or I can create a hierarchical structure, a parent-child keyword listing, grouping them together. So right here, I've created this hierarchy called family. And if I open it up, my next level are my 3 children, Ashley, Christopher, and Melissa. And under each one of them is the keyword for their children, my 6 grandchildren. This extra one in Dylan was me trying something and I forgot to delete it. Now, what that means is I have this hierarchy. So within family, there is a total of 1,793 images. Some of them are in the family level. Others are under Ashley, which is 0. But if you look here for Christopher, there's actually 499 on the Christopher level, with then 28 and 49 making up part of that on the Audrey and Dylan. So you can have a mixture. The advantage to having the hierarchy is I can close up family, and by doing that, I could have one called travel. And so places I've gone, here I have Greece, I have Florida, I have Grand Canyon, I have Ireland, Italy. All these locations could then go under travel. And so what it will do is it's going to begin to make my list smaller and much more manageable. It's just going to take some work on my part. Now, to create this hierarchy with keywords you already have. So let's see, do I have one? So here I have a keyword called travel. So if I want to begin to fix my hierarchy, so I have a keyword here called Venice. All I have to do is click on that, holding my right mouse button down, and I'm going to drag that up to the travel keyword and let it go. And now I've moved that into a hierarchical standpoint. Here I'm going to bring Sydney down. And I could have one, see, I probably do. Let's see, do I have a flowers? I do not. So let's create a new keyword here in the keyword list. And so I'm going to click here on the plus sign. And so I can give it a name. Flowers. I want to include it on the export. I want to export containing keywords. I want to export synonyms. But I do not want to put it inside of teach. And I do not want to add any photos to it yet. So synonyms can be that. So I could do, plants. I could do any sort of a synonym that I want. And so when I searched, it would search for both. So I'm not going to give it any. So here I'm going to say create. So now over here on my list, I have a keyword called flowers with 0 in it. So now I can come down and what did I see down here? Okay, I have my sunflower right here that I just created. And so I'm going to drag that up to flowers. So now I put my sunflowers inside of that. So this is allowing me to create this hierarchical type of an arrangement. You can have both. That's what's nice about this. In the hierarchy, others make it a lot more easy to investigate. Now, here in the keyword list, you're going to see some symbols. Like a lot of things in Lightroom, they use little symbols and tags and icon type things. So right here, the first one, because I have this image, which is a JPEG of my PowerPoint, you'll notice that there's a check mark on the word e-training. That's because this image has the keyword e-training. It also has the keyword keyword. So let me pull up family. And you'll see instead of a check mark, I have little dashes. Now, those dashes mean that some of these images that I've selected here have that keyword, but not all of them. If I want to fix that, if I want to make all these images that I've clicked here under family and have the keyword family, all I'm going to do is click that box. Now you'll see it switched to a check mark. That means that all these images that I have here, 1,925, now have the keyword family on them. So the dash means it's on some but not all, and the check mark means it's now on all of them. If I wanted to add these images to a specific keyword, and I'm going to put it just here in class just because I won't screw anything up. All I'm going to do is come here when I put my mouse over the little box that appears and I click, they all have a check mark, and you notice I jumped from 2 to 200 or 1,216. So by just checking the box, I add that keyword to all of those images that I've selected. Now, you'll notice if I put my mouse over, well, here I'll put it over sunflower. And here on the right side, I get an arrow. By clicking that arrow is going to select and show me those keyworded images. My 3 images that I put sunflower on. So if there's a keyword, this is where keywording, the keyword list is very useful. I want to see just the 7 images that I tagged with Belle Isle. All I do is I find that keyword, move my mouse over to the arrow, and click. And it shows me how it's taken and can go visit my keywords. Here's another one. I've got 40 images from air races. Boom. It takes me right to them. So the keyword list is how you can very quickly, if you know the keyword you're looking for, find those images. And it's finding those images out of 78,826 possibilities. That's why it becomes so efficient if you have a good keywording plan. Now, The other thing you can do is maybe you're going through images trying to keyword very specific images. We have a keyword shortcut. Where is it? Here it is. So right here, I have a keyword called frame, and it has a plus sign next to it. If you remember and use anything with collections, having the plus mark next to a collection makes that the targeted collection. In the case of keywords, it becomes the shortcut key. So maybe I want, again, I'm going to pick favorites. And I can right-click and I can say use this as the shortcut key. So now my plus sign is up here. So maybe this panel that I have up right now on my image, if I go Shift-K, I've now assigned that keyword to it. If for some reason I realize I don't want that, hit Shift-K again, and it removes it. So I can be coming, maybe I'm working on a very specific keyword I'm applying, and I'm just rolling through images. So Shift-K allows me to quickly apply that keyword as a shortcut key. Keep in mind, though, like a lot of things in Lightroom, once you assign it to it, in this case favorites, it's going to stay there until you unassign it. So if you stick it on something and you forget about it and you hit Shift-K, you're going to be applying that keyword to whatever you have. And it's whatever is selected. I could literally select all photographs and apply the keyword favorites to all 78,826 images in this catalog. Now, maybe you've been doing a lot of keywording like myself, and you want to update, correct, or remove keywords. So one thing I have here, I have a keyword, family 2016 grandchildren. This is because at one point a space was a keyword delimiter, and then it went away, or if I didn't do something right. So the keyword is actually all those words. So I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say Edit Keyword Tag. And what I can now do is change this. And I can change it to whatever I want. Now, in this case, I'm not going to do that only because I got 297 assigned with it, and I don't want to get my bigger mess. But here, let's take the bottom one. Let's edit that keyword, and let's call it just grandchildren. And I'm going to click Save. So now I have a new keyword of just grandchildren. I still have the other one, but now it just says what was left, grandchildren family. So this is one way that I'm cleaning up my keywords. Some of the other things I can do here, I can create a new keyword. Create a keyword. I can create a keyword inside of an existing one to create the hierarchy. So maybe I want to, under flowers, I'm going to create the keyword tag inside that called roses. It's going to put it inside, and now I'm going to create it. So here now I've created that. I can also get rid of keywords if I have some that I don't want anymore. As an example, I have one here called bokeh. So I'm just going to get rid of that one. I don't know why I have it. And so I'm going to right click and I'm going to say delete. Now the other thing I do is here under bokeh, if I click on this, I can remove it from the selected photo if it's on it. Or I can add it to a selected photo. But in this case, I'm just going to delete it. Are you sure you want to do this? The keyword will be removed. It does not remove the photo at all. It just takes the keyword off of it. And boom, it's now gone from my list. Down here where it says put new keywords inside of this keyword, that's creating the hierarchy also. I can export these photos as a catalog. I could take everything that I have on a keyword and create a whole new catalog with it. Now, I have two here about person, and I'm going to come back to the person keyword towards the end of this. Now, for those of you who sat in on my collections session, or if you understand collections, we can also create smart collections using keywords. So I have one I created here called Sport Smart Collection. And when I click on it to bring it up, it's the Smart Collection, and I have the criteria to match all of the following rules. Keywords contains sports. It can say contains all, the words does not, starts with empty, not empty. So I can have the keyword contains sports. But maybe I've not been real good about my capitalization on some of my keywords, and I have both sports lowercase and sports uppercase or singular. So I can change my match to any, create another criteria, and this is under other metadata. Keywords contains sport, singular. And another one, sports. So any keywords that match any of this criteria will automatically be put into this smart collection. The nice thing about this is, as you're going along, you can add images to this smart collection just by adding that. And one of the easiest places to do it, maybe you go out to a ball game, and when you come back, everything you're going to import is a sport. It was shot at a sporting event. So I got a bunch of poor images here that are just on a memory card. And right up here under keywords, I give it the keyword sports. Now, when I import these, that keyword is going to be applied to it, and my smart collection is going to automatically increase based on that keyword. If I went through and said, no, that's not really sports, all I have to do is remove the keyword. So this is where smart collections with keywords if you have keywords that you do a lot with, can be very useful, especially with family, a smart collection of family. Now, one of the things that Lightroom does give us, if you are looking to get into keywording, Lightroom comes standard with the Smart Collection without keywords. So I've got 55,868 images with no keyword. Maybe I'm going to go through and be very diligent and apply some sort of keyword to all of those images. I can just click on without keywords and begin working on those images. So if I click on that Smart Collection, and here I can select all of these images that are not keyworded from my son's wedding. Come down here, and I'm going to hit the keyword Christopher. Now you're going to notice my without keywords, 55,868 is going to go down. Here. So I have increased my keywords by that amount. And it allows me to begin working through my catalog to become a little bit more diligent on using the keywords. So smart collections are very powerful for that, especially if you have things like family or whatever. You just apply it on import, and it automatically goes into that smart collection. So as we saw, once we have these keywords, using the keyword list, if I want to find the images that meet that, as an example here, we'll click the drone. I can see my pictures, my 30 pictures that I have in here tagged as drone. So that's one way to find them. The other method is to use the library filter bar. And that's this bar up here at the top. If you don't see it, want to turn it on, if I go to View, Show Filter Bar, or hit the backsplash key. Now, in the library filter bar, you may not have the same 4 columns that I have here. You can set these to anything you want. And to set them to it, here, when I put my mouse over the second one that says camera, and I click, I can set that one to a keyword. Now, this here then shows me, here I have, this is all keywords, and I can scroll down and say Belle-Isle. The pictures that are on Belle-Isle, only 5 of them are tagged with drone. One is a landscape, 5 are teach. These are under metadata. Be very careful, because even if I close this bar, that filter stays in place. This is where people think Lightroom has lost their images because they can't find it. They've left this bar on. You close it off in one of 2 ways. Just click on all keywords or say none. And everything comes back. So those are the 2 really easy ways that we can find images once we've assigned a keyword to it. With the library bar, though, I can do it also under text. And here under text, when I have my any searchable field, I can select keyword, and I never use contains all. I always use contain. And the reason I do that is as soon as I start typing, here I started to Olivia, O-L-I-V. I got to O-L. And it begins to find them. So if something is beginning with OL that's similar, it will find them. Now, you might have noticed when I had this as lowercase, and I typed her full name. Oh, it did find them both. Okay. For a minute there, it did not find the lowercase. I just didn't give it time. So we can search this way under keywords. Again, we can say any keywords that are empty. Maybe I import a job and I've got 1,000 pictures and I'm not sure if I got keywords on all of them. I could just select that job, say here are empty, and it would show me images that do not have keywords attached to them. And again, you've got to make sure you turn this off. Otherwise, even if you close it, it will still be applying. Now, when I search with the library filter that I just showed you, it is only searching in whatever folder or collection that I am currently showing. If I want to search all photographs, I need to use all photographs or the keyword panel or keyword list panel. So one thing that may be a question is, where does this get stored? It is actually stored in the Lightroom database. We can write this to the files themselves, except for RAW, in which case it puts them in the sidecar files. One of the nice things about storing it with it is if you move these images to another Lightroom catalog, the keywords go with it. Now, for those of you who might have sat in on my last session on catalog maintenance, I talked about splitting a catalog into 2 separate catalogs. When you do that and create a new catalog to put that split into, the new catalog does not necessarily have your keywords. So this is a point that what you would want to do is export those keywords out. And the way you do that is under metadata, export keywords. And all it's going to do is create a text file. You tell it where you want to put it. I already have one there, so I'm going to say yes. I'm going to overwrite it, but it's not because I have it open, which is okay. So I want to show you what it looks like. So I can then take that text file, and this is what it's going to look like. And if you create your own, you have to be very careful. You want to put one keyword on a line and then hit the enter key. If you don't, when you try and import it, it will not work. Now, in order to bring keywords into your file, you're going to do the same way here under metadata, import keywords. You would navigate to the list you create and say open. I don't want to do that because it's going to screw up my keywords. The thing about it is, it does not overwrite these. It would add to it. So you cannot use export, clean up the list, and then re-import it, because it would not assign them to anything. It's not a way to clean up the list. It's a way to add to it. If we have keywords that we want to get rid of, I have one here called gamut. Oh, I'll do frame. If I want to get rid of it, or if I have a bunch of keywords that have 0. Here I have my roses I just created. So if I have a bunch of keywords that have 0, if I go to metadata, purge unused keywords, and you'll notice my roses that I just created is gone because it had nothing assigned to it. So that's how you can kind of purge your list a little bit. Are there any questions? I've turned the mics back on. Nobody?
Thanks a lot, Tim. You made it a lot clearer for me.
Yeah, it's really a powerful tool. It is not something that I myself use a lot. I've been forcing myself to use it. Question is, what's an easy way to find an image without any keyword assigned? That's the problem. When you're looking for a very specific image, you have to kind of know where you've stored it in the catalog, what folder, what location it's in. You know, if we look at my catalog here, you know, I've got family photos, and I've got job photos, I've got miscellaneous, I've got travel. I'd have to know where I put this. And that's the challenge by not using keywords.
Hey, Tim, there's a couple of other ways to add keywords as well. This is Paul Austin.
Yeah.
And one of those is on import. And I know on import it can be kind of hard at times because you've got such a miscellaneous group of photos, but even just a single keyword like the year on import and everything, they're already there, and that kind of is helpful.
Right.
Another thing that I've noticed that can happen is if you can enter keywords in the panel when you're on a photo, and every once in a while, maybe more often quite often, sometimes I'll misspell a word or something like that, and then I'll change it. But after I've clicked on it. And so sometimes when I go through my keyword list, I got a lot of misspellings in there, and that needs to be cleaned up. And there is a button in there someplace that will purge automatically all of the keywords that don't have any photos assigned.
Right, I just talked about that. Did my microphone not work?
Oh, you did discuss that.
Okay. Right. If you have 0, you can purge unused.
Tim,
Yep,
in the lower,
all with your misspelling. If you say here, I got book. If I right click on it, if I edit it, I can change the spelling there, and it will update all the images with that keyword. I'm going to turn it into books. And so now they all have the keyword books. So if you have misspellings, that's how you can correct them.
thank you and have a real good night.
Thank you.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
This is Bruce Cantor. Is there a limit to the number of keywords that you can have? Because on mine, I've got about, I think I've got around 4,000 or so. And when you're in the keyword list, when I click on all, the list stops at like the letter T.
I think, are you on a Mac or a PC?
PC.
I believe that's a Windows fault.
Okay. Because when I click on people, I just see the people and I see the entire list of people because I don't have 4,000 people.
Right.
And then when I click on other, you know, I think that's all non-people, I believe, and I can scroll down to the bottom and I can get to W, X, Y, and Z and so forth. But when I look at all, I mean the keywords are there, they're on the pictures, but it just doesn't show everything when I have it selected on all. It stops at the letter T.
Right. I believe, and I can't, it's one of those things that doesn't get talked about a lot. I know I've read that somewhere. Give me a little bit and it'll come to me. But I'm pretty sure it's a Windows function. One of the easiest ways, if I'm remembering it all correctly, is take it to a hierarchical. Take some of and start creating a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And that then shortens up the list, which begins to solve that problem.
Yeah, of course. But yeah. All right. I was just curious. Thanks.
You're welcome. Somebody just posted a question. What would you suggest us to avoid as file names, folders, and use simply as a keyword? I'm not quite understanding the question. So if the person who wrote that wants to.
Here, my name is Dennis.
Yes.
And I tend to create sometimes a very complex folder structure, you know, for when I'm doing the uploads, and I can see the benefit of using keyword that I use, but I don't think I use at the point you showed today. What was very helpful, you know, it's giving me different ideas how to use this better. So I kind of tended to put too much information in my folder, like when I import, and you know, in my sessions, and I create a session, and maybe I should be avoiding doing that. And so I was trying to figure out what's the best way to identify my import as a folder name, and in the other side as keywords. In fact, keywords is good because I can add 20, 30 keywords even if they're the reason. But I think I did a little bit too much with my folder structure. You know, when I first import a session, I try to give a name there, and maybe I should be just importing everything together and then later work with keywords.
Your folder structure still needs to be something that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
What you might want to look at, do you use collections at all?
I do use collection, but I don't think I use it again.
So because you can create a collection during import.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm understanding, you have, you know, a folder and a subfolder and a subfolder and a subfolder, and then the folder with the actual images in it.
Correct. I tend to do sometimes 2 or 3 levels of subfolders.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you continued that, but you created a collection with the name that is the same as the very bottom last folder that has the actual images in it,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't matter about all the other folder structure. So the collection would take you right to that one. As an example, if, it's flowers is the folder, and then a subfolder roses, subfolder tea roses, subfolder English. I could then have a collection called English roses, and it would take me right to that folder.
Correct.
And so you could still have your folder structure on your hard drive that you could still use, but then by having the collection, you could quickly click on it and get right to it and not have to drill down in the folders.
That makes sense. That's very helpful. Yes.
Good. I think that you could do it with keywords also, but what you're describing, I don't think I would change from my folder structure, but by putting them directly in a collection during import, even if you don't keep it to, when you're all done with what you're doing with it, you could then get rid of that collection. You'd still be able to go to the folder structure.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this was very helpful because I was able to, to see other benefits and use keywording. I've never used, this structure where you create sub-levels for the keywords or things like that. That I can see the benefit of doing that I've never used. I just used the simple flat list.
Right.
So it was very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any other questions about that and or basic questions on Lightroom? No?
I'll have another one.
Sure.
I have another one then. And you said that, so if I'm if I'm just exporting to a catalog, I normally work with two different catalogs, one for everything that I can more recent and I can hold in my computer. And then I have another catalog that I point to a NAS drive that I have, for the old stuff that I don't want to be using space in my computer.
Right.
And so if I already have all this keyword structure, select when I exported the catalog, all the structure will go with it. All the keywording is going to follow, or I always need to go and do the separate export of the keyword.
You will always have to move your keywords manually.
Okay, so always manually.
Yes, keywords do not travel with a catalog like that. They'll travel with the images, but not necessarily with the catalog. So you're better off exporting it when you make the new catalog and adding those keywords to it.
Got it. Okay.
The question came in: will there be able to view the recording of this? Yes, it will. It will probably be tomorrow. It takes a little while for it to process and then upload to YouTube, but I'll send out a link to everybody who registered for the event, where you'll be able to get to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to play the recording of this. Any other questions I can answer? All right. In case you didn't see it, I would invite you to sign up for John Campbell's presentation tomorrow on shooting wildflowers out in the neighborhood. He's out in the Plymouth area and a number of parks that have some great options for wildflowers that are blooming right now. The other thing is, it probably will be about 2 weeks or so, but my next presentation I'm going to probably get into what's the deal with metadata and what metadata is, how it's used, how it moves, where it comes from, where it goes, and everything you'd want to know about metadata. The other
Tim,
thing is, if there is something very specific that you would like to see on Lightroom, shoot me a message. You can do it through my email, through Creative Vision. Let me know what you're looking for. And with that, if there's no other questions, I'm going to say thank you and wish you all a good evening. Safe.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tim.
Tim.